This is a road test video for a Honda Civic. This is a 1.8 SIT model. Car is registered KR59UUT. Mileage at the start of this brief road test is 75,311 miles. The reason we do these road tests is basically we're selling now to customers from all over the near continent and the extremes of the UK, and we just want people to see our cars in operation prior to them coming to see us. Obviously just to give you a bit of reassurance and confidence to know that the cars are as we've described them to you. The road test is done on exactly the same road as you'll undertake the road test yourselves, so it should be very representative of what you'll experience and feel for yourself. What I try and do is to do it in a kind of the same sort of sequence as you do yourself when you come and drive the car, and I always start with the engine on the car. Obviously a 1.8 VTEC engine. They are an utterly brilliant engine, you know, very economical. 43 to the gallon is conservative. It just depends on how you drive them, but you don't have to drive them particularly gently to exceed that. You're only going to get less than that if you're, hammering along at high speeds or sort of just pure town driving. But the reality is, even just normal driving, I can get sort of 45 to 50 to the gallon very easily. Very smooth revving engines, give plenty of power, lovely kind of VTEC snarl when you get up on the rev range. And this particular example, sweet as you'd like. It's a lovely example of one of these engines. No warning lights on the dashboard, temperature gauge a third of the way up the gauge, which is exactly where it needs to be on one of these cars. But it revs very smoothly, very keenly, and it makes pretty much the same noise it did when it was new. I can't detect any vibrations or harshness or clonks, bangs or anything that shouldn't be there from the engine, so you don't really get them on the Hondas. But it's a really fine example of one of them. Engine then runs through clutch and gearbox. Clutch on the car is light as a feather, very smooth in operation. Clutch pedal goes in and out without any squeaks or clicks or otherwise. The actual engagement with the engine is absolutely perfect. We don't really get any issues on these. Obviously the diesels are more prone to clutch slip. These will eventually, but normally when they've gone beyond 100,000 miles. But the clutch is absolutely spot on, can't fault it. Gearbox of the car, 6-speed manual gearbox, fantastic gear change in the car. It's really is a work of art. Again, Honda, as I say in all my videos, how they achieve it, I don't honestly know. It's clearly a cable operated gear change, as most front-wheel drive cars are now. Unfortunately, with a lot of cars, that means you end up with a kind of a horribly vague gear change, or quite loose in terms of the way it operates. But this operates with an incredible precision and just a lovely action, as you can see as a change gear here now. It's every gear's got beautifully judged synchromesh. There's just not a hint of wear in the gear change at all. It's a gear change that you enjoy using rather than sort of have to use. That's the way I'd describe it. It is very sporty in its orientation. They do a cracking job of it. As I'm driving along now, car tracks absolutely bullet straight. There's no vibration through the steering wheel at all at this or any other speed. Steering itself, I'll talk about the dynamics of it in due course, but I can't detect anywhere. And when I'm driving any used car with any kind of mileage, sometimes you get a little bit of kind of looseness around the edges where you might have a track rod end or something with a wear within the steering system, but it's as tight as you could ever expect to find on a used car. It's wonderful. Likewise the suspension, and again I'll talk more about dynamics in a second, but it rides perfectly, exactly as it should. It's handling exactly as it should, and again I can't feel any kind of wear in the suspension at all. And again, things I'll be looking out for is when you go over little bumps like that, you sometimes get a little resonance where you get like chattering from underneath, and that can be things like most commonly anti-roll bar links, or these sort of struts, top mounts, that kind of thing will, over a period of time and road use, will sort of have a bit of wear in them. But it's, again, it just feels like new in terms of the kind of the drive of the car in that way. I can't detect anything at all. as I'm driving the car now as well, I'm also sort of conscious of the fact that I'm listening out for kind of wind noise that shouldn't be there. So if you've got a seal in a window or windscreen badly fitted, then it would manifest itself with wind noise coming in. It shouldn't really be there, but again, it's exactly as I'd expect and hope it to be. So I would overtake, but I'm going to turn left in a second. I'm just going to irritate the chap behind me. I'll do the brakes in a second once I've turned left, so I'll get up to more speed than the tractor's capable of going. Alright, to be fair, got a fair old lick. So right, let's go along this road. This is a horrendous road in terms of road surface, which is why I deliberately go along it. So if there's anything wrong underneath, it'll manifest itself very, very quickly indeed. So I'm just going to give the brakes a little bit of a sharp jab, and that's a really good brake pedal. Nice and solid, no pulsing or vibration back through the brake pedal at all. Suggests obviously pads, discs and braking system all in good order. Pulls up nice and straight, not left, right or otherwise. Again, so brake balance and everything's kind of set up very nicely underneath there, but it very, very good indeed. Because obviously, as it says in the advert, it's due to go in today. It's only just arrived, so that's why I'm doing the road test today. But it's going in for its service, and it will have an independent MOT on the vehicle as well. So that's all done prior to the car being sold. But it does feel really, really tight. Looking around inside the car now. Obviously this is a very rare car. I mean, the SI is a really good looking car. The reason we bought this one, it had a few little bits on it which I thought were really nice. First of all, it's in Nighthawk black, which is a great colour for the car. Secondly, it's actually the SIT model. The T designates the fact that it's got this more modern sat-nav system fitted to the vehicle, which is a really nice feature on the car. Nice, big, dead simple and easy to use. The rest of the dashboard's in really fine order, and very, very few signs of any notable wear inside the car. You know, I truly love these dashboards, as you've seen in my other videos, you'll know. Two-tier design, all the pixelation on the clock and the ventilation's perfect. Because this is the 09 onwards model, the facelift version, on the by the speedo here, you've got a little rev indicator, not just to tell you get towards red line, but also to prompt you to change gear nice and early to encourage you for better economy. What I love about this two-tier dashboard is the fact that that speedo is up so nice and high. So as I'm looking at that car on the left in front, ready to pull out for safety reasons, I can also gauge my speed at the same time. It's just such a clever and simple system, but it works brilliantly. Coming down below that, we've got a more conventional binnacle, which has got the sort of big dominating rev counter, and then your sort of fuel gauge and temperature gauge left and right, and then your information display system in the middle of it. But it's brilliant. On the side here, got controls for the air conditioning system, which incidentally is blowing out ice cold air. That's one thing I always check on these test drives. So the air conditioning is really working very well indeed. But the whole dashboard, again, if you know don't be duped if someone tells you it's a facelift model. It must have this type of texturing on the dashboard here. It used to be kind of a shiny plastic, which looked very nice, but fingernails and a bit of grubbiness over the years can make them look a little bit scratched very easily. This is a much nicer material and takes the test of time much better, because the whole car was facelifted, and they improved the interior plastic quality and build inside the car. But all the switches work with that really lovely Honda precision. You know, they don't just build great engines, they build brilliant interiors. And contrary to whatever anyone tells you, even though they have a lightness to their feel inside, they are in the real world infinitely better built than anything VW or Audi can throw at us. It's quite common to sit in a VW or Audi this age and see paint's worn off all the switches, where they're just very poor quality in that sense. The doors make a hefty thud, but only because they put little dampeners in them to do it. This in the real world is a much better made car and infinitely more reliable. But what I love, coming back to something I mentioned earlier on, is the steering and the chassis of the car. When you combine what is actually a pretty quick steering rack on the vehicle, it's combined with a really nice compromise, because that's all suspension is on modern cars. It's a compromise between having a soft pillowy ride with control through the corners and decent handling. A soft ride can be great in the short term, but can be actually quite tiring over long trips when you're going around corners, because the cars keel over. These cars have a really lovely kind of spirited drive. The suspension's firm but controlled and comfortable, apart from on the heavily potted roads. But what it gives you I'll drop back a little bit here, on these sort of windier corners, it's just a lovely flat stance to its cornering, and its composure to corners is fantastic. Again, in a different league to most cars in its class. So when you sort of dip the corners like this, just a tiniest little turn of the steering wheel. This next corner is horrible because it's an off-camber one. It catches cars too quick, but it just sits. Tiny movement to the steering wheel again, holds its line, and it's through. It's just a really brilliant chassis. Mostly unappreciated by the majority of the motoring press, but as they tend to do years down the line, they start to appreciate how good these cars are, and their favourites at the time soon they're forgotten about. But basically the point of the road test was just so you could see the car, see it in operation, and from what I've experienced of the vehicle thus far, I can vouch for the fact you'll be coming to drive a really tight example of this car. It's I can't find anything wrong with the drive of the car at all. It drives utterly beautifully. Clearly, if there's anything I've missed, do call us and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have.